Okay, so here we go. Just getting the little link there. That's that done. Let's get the link here. Let's take the little link there. Check that we're going out. That's the wrong page. Right, there's the YouTube link on Facebook. If you want to join along. So let me just shut that up. Right, there we go. Okay. So actually I need that back. 1 second. Okay, we're about to start. Just make sure that that's... Oh, I've got to hit post. Okay. Why didn't that go to the top? Hang on. Okay, we're almost there. There we go. That's better. Okay, right, that's that. Right, so I'm just going to ignore when I'm getting that up. Okay, so hello, good evening. Welcome to The Real You, show number 27, probably. I'm not very good at counting, but I think it might be 27. And tonight's episode is about systems versus ingredients. Systems versus ingredients. So what am I talking about? So, yeah, we've spoken a lot about, finding, your motivation, finding what you truly value, how to do productivity, how to keep, motivated, and, how to use your time, and, how to avoid using to-do lists and all sorts of things. But it's still difficult. It's still difficult. So, what's missing? And we've talked about beliefs as well, so why we're doing things, like your why, that kind of stuff, so that you can overcome adversity and naysayers and all that kind of stuff. But it's still not enough. So this is where systems versus ingredients comes in. So the basic thing is that we need a system that we believe in. That's the big issue. So, in other words, regardless of what's happening, the feedback and the results we get and all that kind of stuff, we have to believe in the system, in that what we're doing, is worthwhile, and that people will get to, hear it and share it and, all that kind of stuff. It's all part of the system. And make sure, we're doing the right thing, even is kind of part of the system, although not as much, because that's really more from your why, which we've talked about in the others. So, how do we create a system that we believe in? How do we even find, that system? And I think, the other thing is that a system is quite big. And it can take a long time to evolve and fine tune and all that kind of stuff. So the bit before the system really is the ingredients, and the ingredients are basically, what makes up the system. So if you think of it like a recipe, I'm going to sneeze, of course. Hang on. If you think of it like a recipe. Right, is that just going to be one sneeze, or are we going to have a second one? Who knows? It's live, folks. The sneezes come when they feel like it. Anyway, right, so, systems versus ingredients, if I can manage to talk still. So the ingredients kind of make up, the system. So if you think of a recipe, that's what I was saying, wasn't it? Right? Yeah. If you think of a recipe, the recipe the recipe, which is the system, is made up of, these basic, these kind of micro steps. But each step is, valuable. And each step is done in a particular way. And if a step isn't done in a particular way, then the system will collapse, basically. And also, the sum of the the steps of the tasks of the whatever we want to call them, is also going to be have a what's that expression? The parts are big. Sorry, the sum is bigger than the parts. Okay, so I don't know what we would call. I'm going to call them tasks. I don't think that's the proper cooking term, but but the recipe is made up of these highly skilled tasks. And and as I say, the sum of those is bigger than them individually. Okay, and then the other thing, again, which is going to subdivide the tasks even. I'll make that a different. I'll make these a different color. Then we got a little bit of a spread, haven't we? I just use that. It's a horrible color, but never mind. And so the other bit, of this is going to be, the ingredients. Okay, of course that's too big for the box. Okay, and again, well, it says ingredients. I'm not going to try and make that fit any better. And again, there might be, several ingredients behind each task. Okay, so there's a lot of ingredients. And again, if the ingredients aren't right, then the tasks are going to fail. It's getting complicated, isn't it? Anyway, but that's basically it. That's as kind of deep as we need to go in that. So obviously, just coming out with a system or a recipe out of thin air, where all these things are, fine-tuned and work together and, are optimized and all that kind of thing, is hard. And the trouble is, if we wait for the system, and if we put all our faith in the system, and the system is inflexible, then there's a strong chance that we're going to fail, and we're going to lose our faith in in the system, in the recipe. Okay, so we when we kind of building this up, we want to make sure that we got each ingredient right, and then that we create the task right, and then we might do the next set, and then we might do the next set, and then finally, when we've got however many it takes, let's just say it's 3 to 5 at the moment, then we've got our system, and then we can trust in our system because we know that everything about the system is right. Every ingredient is right. Every task using those ingredients is right, and then all the tasks that come together to make the system are right. Okay, so so what? Why did this come about? I guess basically. So I know my why. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. I know why I'm doing it. But I'm still not doing it. So in this particular example, I'm supposed to be making, a science fiction manga, thing, and I've not managed to do it for a week or 2 weeks now, even though I know what I'm supposed to do. And obviously, the underlying problem with that is fear, but that fear becomes because of not having a system. So I don't know if I'm doing, I know what I want to do, but I don't know how to do it because I don't have the system. And and also it gets complicated because the system in itself is complicated, and then it becomes a bit overwhelming. So I'm going to get the word recipe in there because it's probably a friendlier word than system, isn't it? But I think technically I mean a system. So what is the system, for Sai manga? And that, and the first thing is that that's going to break down into a number of, you know, um, subsystems. Sorry, there we are. So, the first thing that I need, to do, or that I should do, is to just to make the comic. Okay, and the comic is basically, the ingredients for the comic. The cooking analogy is working quite well so far, isn't it? Anyway, so the ingredients for the comic is obviously I need, the character images. Because that's going to be too big again. Excuse me. There's the character images. I need, some kind of environment images. I'm going to spell out environment, but anyway, there we go. And I also need the script. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I also need the script. Okay, so they're the ingredients. Okay, they're the ingredients, and I'm fairly, convinced about that. And and each one of those has its own challenges. Okay, but basically, I know if I can do that, then I can, create, each story. Okay, because again, there needs to be several stories, to make the comic, big enough, if you like. So I, that's part one, and I'm kind of happy about that, but I still haven't done it. So we're going to come to the reason why I haven't done it in a second. But the other reason why the comic is a subsystem is because, ultimately that's going to become, a movie. Okay, and it's basically the same story, as all this. It's just that, it's just that this time, let's get that out of the way. This time, as well as, the character images, the environment images, and the scripts, which make up the story. The other thing to the movie is that there's another two, moving parts to it. Okay, I'm getting a mess here. Back a bit. There we are. Okay, it's not very well laid out, but that's basically all the things that need to go on. Well, actually, just pretend that that this is made up of that. So each story is made up of the character images, the environment images, and the scripts. But so the other thing I need to add to each story to make it into a movie, I actually need, the audio dialogue. Okay, I also need, audio, music, and sound effects. Okay, you're probably seeing why this is becoming a big task now. And also I need, animations and transitions. Okay, because I'm not just filming the comic book and going, there it is then. It needs to have a little bit more in it. But it is the same story. It is the same story. Sorry, my nose is running there. Right, anyway, let's try and carry on. Okay, so that, and I'll just put an arrow in just to make it clear that the story is the same story, that we made a minute ago. It's just that, here we go. Let's see if we can do something with that. and it's going to have those same elements in it, the images, the environments, and the scripts in it as well. But then we've got to add these other things to make it into a movie. Okay, but that's basically the same thing. Okay, and then the other thing that can come out of that, which isn't quite as big a project in some ways, and maybe I should put that first, is an audio only version of the movie, which we can either call an audio book or a podcast, and it might be both. Okay, we might do both, and there might be reasons why both exist. Okay, but but again, we can make that from that. So in that one, we won't use the animation, but we will use the audio dialogue and the music and sound effects. Okay, so that's another thing that can come out of this. And then there's a big thing that's going to come out of this, which is that the collection of movies basically, and everything, and the assets to make it up, and the behind the scenes sort of stuff is going to kind of create a behind the scenes club. Okay, and so for the real diehard fans who want to know as much about how it's done and why it was done and all that kind of stuff, they're gonna be fascinated and excuse me, and highly entertained by that, because it's a real insight as to what's going on. Okay, so you can see as a complete thing, this has got all going on in my mind, and obviously it's quite daunting. Okay, and when you don't even know, I should say transitions. What have I put there? When you don't even know if the image, if the very first image is right, and if you don't know how to create the scene and all that kind of stuff, then it all becomes overwhelming and a problem. Okay, and the other thing, we're starting to get a little bit, stupid, is to treat it as a business and all that kind of stuff. There are other little kind of infrastructure things that need to happen. So I realised that I didn't even have a logo, and the logo means I didn't have a colour scheme. Okay, and the house style and all that kind of stuff. And so again, it just becomes more and more daunting. It's just overwhelming because it's a one-man operation. It's an incredible amount of stuff to do. But this is the system that I want. This is that's the goal that I have, and this is the system that I need to to achieve that goal. And that system, as I say, has all these subsystems of doing the comic first, which is purely just static images and text with the story. Then creating that into a movie by adding animation and audio dialogue and sound effects and music. And then the audio book or the podcast can come from the music soundtrack if it's explained enough. But it may be that I have to add extra things into the audio book and podcast, like like a narration. Because if I can't show the thing visually, I may need to describe and set up the scene with an extra character who wasn't who isn't in the movie and isn't even in the comic. Okay, so this is all the the stuff going on, and and I'm sure that your ideas become as complex as this, just as mine. I don't think mine is particularly difficult or complex. It's just that there are an awful lot of moving parts. And it'd be the same if we were learning photography or learning a language or learning to play guitar or whatever. There's always these extra, moving bits. And as I say, to develop this system, from A to Z, from kind of day one, it's just not going to happen. Okay, and even then, we wouldn't even really know if the system, worked. Okay. So this is where so if we had the system and we knew it worked and we could achieve it as a one-man operation, then that would be great. And I am sure this is what needs to happen. I just don't know, how to do it. I know how to do the bits, but I don't know, in terms of manpower and resources and styles and which options to pick. I don't know. Until you've done it, you don't know that the system works. So I can't wait for the system. This is the big takeaway. I can't wait for the system because I could be dead by the time I've worked the system out. Okay, I could certainly, I could be dead before I make the first movie. Okay, so, how do we do this? So, I have to, break it down, chunk it down into achievable steps, kind of productivity 101 kind of thing, and just make the comic. Okay, and also out of the comic, we can actually make, some semi-digital things, like digital flip books and stuff like that. Okay, so there are some ways of, doing it, and there's probably other things that I haven't thought of, which can, use the multimedia kind of aspects of it. And even, to some extent, memes. I mean, they're not my favorite things, but there's going to be, some very classic artwork, for instance, in this. So they could become, memes isn't really the right word for that, is it really? But, but they could become pieces of digital art. Okay, in fact, I'll call it that instead, actually. So, the digital art in itself is going to be, something. It's going to be worth something. And and to the right people, it will be entertaining, in its own right. Okay, so how, so as I say, we can't wait for the system because I could be dead. So how do we get anything to happen? So we have to believe, start by believing in the ingredients. So I just have to get these right. So it's going to take me a bit longer. But I have to make sure that my characters are right, and then I've got to think of the best way of portraying them in the scenes, and then obviously the scripts, the story. Everything is going to be based on the story, so I really need to make sure that is, kind of fine tuned. Okay, and and that's part of the problem, and that's why it's been a bit overwhelming and trying to get that to happen. So today, basically, I spent the whole day, trying to find some environment images. Okay, and and that's like a spotting session, and you have to go through, literally thousands of bits of digital art if you're not making it from scratch. And even if you make it from scratch, what is the, what's the idea, and then you've got to actually do it, and then you've got to be really good at the art of doing that and all that kind of stuff. So everything is complicated. Everything is complicated, but I can start with, for instance, I don't want to give away too much, but I can start with a little micro story for each character, okay, which you might call a bio, and I've got a very funky idea of what to do about this. But by normal terms, it would be called a bio. So if I can make the bio for each character, I can make each character come to life before I even start making the comic or the movie or anything. Okay, and if I audioize those up, then I've got kind of podcast things, to do. But now you can see. Sorry, that doesn't go well. The ingredients, excuse me, are starting to happen. They're coming to life, and you can see I'm getting excited about, the vision of this and where it can go and how it can start. Okay, because if I can just do this bit, okay. Even if I died tomorrow, at least my characters would be out there, waiting for somebody else to, make them into a movie or whatever. So, this gives me a great start, basically. And, and that's what I have to do. And that, as you can imagine, is not nearly as overwhelming. It's still scary because I have to get this right. If my characters are no good and my bios are no good, then it's still going to suck. Even with, so the ingredients have to be right, but at least I know that I can just start with the ingredients and, and start that. So, again, this is probably nothing new. It's just another version of saying, putting things into manageable chunks. Okay, but what has that ever meant? What has that ever meant to you? How do you take a big task and create it into manageable tasks? And what I'm doing here is I'm keeping within my goal. I'm going to be able to create output. So as soon as I can do these two things, I'm ready to publish something. Okay, it will exist. The story will start to exist. Okay, and I can get it out there, and then hopefully I'll get feedback and encouragement, and that will motivate me and give me the signals that I need to feel confident that I'm doing the right thing. And so we're kind of semi-proving the system, because if I get feedback and people like this, then there's a good chance that I'm on the right path to get to the big thing. Okay, but this might be, this could be a decade off, easily. But I can't wait a decade to do something. So I have to start with this. But this is what manageable chunks means, in my context here. But also, I think the beauty of this is that it's keeping the ethos of the why. Okay, so the why is I want to share this story. Okay, the two elements of science fiction, fascinates me because it's not of this world. And it hasn't happened yet, and I don't know what's going to happen. And anything is possible. That's the great thing about science fiction. Anything is possible. And then manga is just a really beautiful kind of art form where the characters are very heroic and very innocent, and they have they can have superpowers, and they always have really deep rooted kind of not just karma, but values and core values and stuff like that. And everything about them is kind of bigger than life, and it's beautiful within its own, in its own right. And then the whole thing comes together in this big, smorgasbord, if that's the word, of all these, all these beautiful little things coming together to form something bigger than themselves. But bottom line is the manageable chunk. I can do this. I can publish. I can get it out there. I can see if people like it, what they like and what they don't like. I can adapt and pivot if that's applicable. But I'm still putting the essence of the idea out there, which is to tell this story, containing these two major ingredients. Okay. And that makes me very happy, basically. But that's it. But I think the trouble is that we're all waiting for the system, and the system may not even exist. We might need to be the ones to make the system. But as I say, it could take a decade, and we can't wait a decade to find out if it even works as a concept or as an idea, or if we're completely off bat or whatever. And whether the audience who likes this, if there are people like me out there or not. And again, by doing these two things, I can find that out. And then if I can get as far as these things, then we're a long way forward. And again, each of those is going to have their own outlet and reason to exist. And once the script is done, then maybe I can jump. Jump. to doing the audio for that. And then again, maybe I don't need the music and sound effects right away, or maybe I do, I don't know. But, I can do the audio on its own, even if I can't do the music and the sound effects. It's going to be much, much, much better if I have the music and the sound effects. But again, each, song, for want of a better word, for the story, might take a month. So, if it's got 12 bits in it, that's a year of music composition. And again, I can't wait a year for the story to come out. So, as I say, it's a big project, and maybe it's not, really manageable by one person. That's obviously why, that could be why, there are big, manga companies with hundreds of staff, all doing their bit towards the big thing. I'm trying to do it single-handed, but the advantage I have is that technology, is shortcutting it a lot for me. And hopefully, that technology is going to be able to, be efficient and not necessarily automate it, but it might automate some of the processes. I mean, I've still got to do the core art, if you like, in it, behind it. But I don't have to be able to draw every line by hand with the new technology, and that's the point of it. But this is the thing that I think, and and as I say, I think the problem is that we're all waiting for the system, and the system may not even exist yet. We might need to be the people that create that system, and that system is still unproven until it exists, and and it's out there. And as I say, that could be 10 years off. And I don't think you want to wait 10 years to find out if you're doing the right thing or not. So again, what can you do, that maintains the essence of the idea and creates your, a small part of your vision that you can do, in a reasonable amount of time. Okay, and as I say, it's not just breaking it down into thinking, I need to know how to whip eggs, really well, so they're really light and fluffy. Unless you can do something with those eggs. Okay, so if they can make a great omelette or something, then that's great, because the time to get to making the souffle or whatever it is, could be months and months and months and months away. So every bit that we do kind of needs to have its own life, if you like. That's the best way I think it is. So I don't think it's about breaking it down into chunks as such. I mean, I've always said that. I mean, I'm as guilty as everybody else of saying that. But basically, I don't think it's about, as I say, it's not about smaller chunks. It's really about whether, the smallest, I'm going to call it ecosystem. I know that's a bit arty. But that's really what it is. And and by that I mean, it's got a life of its own. Okay, so what's the smallest thing that can have a life of its own? And and I guess I'm still missing a bit of the point here, because the smallest thing that can have a life of its own is going to be the story. I could have a little short story. Okay, so I could just do short stories, but really they're still going to need the characters and and the other elements, backgrounds and environments and stuff. For that to work, really. But arguably, it could be, that I could, just write the story. But I can't really see how to do that without, fine tuning the characters, and that kind of means having their bio in the background. So I think I'm making the right decision. But again, the short stories, even before the comic, really, are another way, doing it. It's just a case of what format can these micro stories be in. And at the moment, I don't know the answer to that. Okay, but there probably is another format, that could exist. And it might be the flip books. I don't know. I don't think it is, but it might be. But we can wait and see if something transpires, about that. Okay, and sorry, then the other thing I forgot, actually, in this, there's more, is also to make it into a game, with games, I should say, because again, if we've got the movie, we've got most of the bits that we would need in a game, other than the gameplay. So if I just add, the gameplay to, to this. I haven't got enough room to draw it out. But anyway, so if I add gameplay to the movie, then then basically I've got games that I can have. Again, and all of this can go into this club kind of thing. And obviously there's a lot of stuff happening, so there is going to be a lot of content and a lot of entertainment for the for the diehard fans. So there we go. Anyway, that's basically it. As I say, so I think the big takeaway is just basically I've always thought that it was about chunking, but as I say, I think it's not about chunking. It's about creating, I don't want it to sound twee or anything, but it's about creating the smallest life forms that you can. So let's probably bring that way around. And that's really the chunk. That's what a chunk should be. It's not just I guess it's a bit like building a house, and it's not that we want to chunk building the house into laying each brick one at a time until the house is finished, kind of thing. It's really more about, in terms of satisfaction and feeling that you've got somewhere and actually having something to show for it. It's about whether you can actually build. I don't think it's actually possible in actual house building, but it's as if you could build each room, completely. I mean, not maybe totally completely, but to build, to finish one room and then finish another room, rather than thinking, I've got to put, 1,000,000 bricks in to make the house, which is going to take, a while. Can we make one of the rooms, which has got beautiful arches in it and beautiful windows and, great ceiling and all that kind of stuff. And then can we expand on that to build the next room and so on and so forth. It's not a good way to build a house, I'm sure. Well, I'm moderately sure. But I think it's a great way to be, an architect who is creating things, that he can be proud of. Okay, so as I say, I don't think it's a practical solution to house building, but in terms of creation of any sort, I think it's the way to go. I mean, like if you think of a sculpture, and it might take a stone sculpture, and it might take you months and months to carve. If you can start with the hand or the face or something, then you've got a complete thing to show. Okay, and then as you build each other apart, it gets closer and closer to the full statue of this person doing something, maybe with another person, and creating a whole scene of whatever's going on, and putting extra context in all of that with other bits. But again, it just means we have something to show as we go along. But anyway, the reason I came up with this basically is because, this idea, the big system, is just overwhelming. Okay, and it's not tested and it's not proven, and so it just puts fear into you and stops you from doing anything. So to say, by breaking it down into chunks which have their own life, like these two, then then we're going to get somewhere. Anyway, that's it. Talk to you next time. Won't be tomorrow. Might even be next week. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. But that's it for now. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.